Okay, so first of all, if you need to build software, so we want to learn how to build, if you need to build softwares, so we want to be able to build software. So if you want to build softwares, there are different types of softwares, right? So you have mobile apps, you have web apps, and you have desktop apps. So these are the broad main apps. Then you also have some apps that are utility based. Something like an app for managing grid, for manufacturing, for all of that, right? But these are like the main three. So, but our focus is going to be, our focus is going to be web apps, right? So we'll try to talk about, at times we call it software development. At times we call it software engineering. At times we say full stack, whichever way. Then in trying to learn software engineering, software development, full stack development. So if we adopt this nomenclature, so anytime we say full stack, it then means we're trying to learn front end. So you hear things like front end, you hear things like back end. So front-end technologies, we are going to mean HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And this includes libraries that are front-end based, right? This includes libraries that are front-end based. Then anytime you talk about back-end development or back-end softwares and whatever, here we are going to mean softwares that are based on things like PHP, Python, Perl, Ruby, Java. What else? What else? C++, C Sharp, right? ASP.
C plus.
Come again?
C++.
Yes, I've mentioned those. So all of these are what you call back-end languages. So as a software developer or someone that wants to go into cloud or someone that wants to go into cybersecurity, you need to understand how all of these things are structured and where you are playing at, what role you are playing. So I said for front end, we talk about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all of the libraries. So something like Bootstrap, right? Bootstrap is a JavaScript library. At times you say HTML, CSS, JavaScript library. So something like React, JS, something like Angular, all of these are what? JavaScript libraries. So anybody that is playing at this league is called a what? It's called a front-end designer or front-end developer. Then when we talk about backend, so anybody playing at this layer, maybe the guy is using PHP or is using Python or is using any of the libraries. Like you see, all of these languages, like for instance, for PHP have Laravel, have Symfony, have what's it called? Code Igniter, have so many of them, right? So Laravel is like very, very popular. Now you have Python. Python have a lot of framework also, like Django. So it's spelled like this, DJANGO, Django. Then you have Flask. So all of these are libraries based on Python. And what do you actually call a library or a library, right? So US, UK pronunciation. So you say a library is sets of languages that are kind of predefined. Sometimes you say predefined codes, functions, etc., to help you code in a particular language. That's a very layman definition. So if I want to do something like login, register, and let's say reset password, if I want to do all of this authentication, I don't need to like code everything from scratch using the language. If I'm using the library or the framework, it's easier because most of those things can be done within a very short time. So Perl, Ruby, JavaScript have like React, Angular, all of these are what? JavaScript library. Most of the times, JavaScript is considered a front-end language. But anytime the person is using the libraries or frameworks like Node.js to do anything back-end, that person is a back-end developer. Now, anybody that can use the both of these, right, is called a what? It's called a full stack developer. Are we together? Anybody that can use the both of these, that can use maybe one or two things here and one or two things here and build a site, a web app, the guy is what? The guy is a full stack developer.
Full stack developer.
And what we're trying to say, we want to become full stack developers. There are different full stack developers, right? So let's look at some of them. So you have main stack, you have mean stack. So let me do something like this. So you have mean stack, you have main stack, you have lamp stack. I think you have one other one that is API driven, right? These are some of the major ones. So here we have MongoDB, we have Express.js, we have Angular, we have Node.js. Here we have MongoDB, Express.js. Here we have React, and we have Node.js. Here we have Linux, we have Apache, we have MySQL, then we have PHP. Right? So these are three very popular stacks. Of course, you have some guys that are going to be using framework-based, not like stack-based web development. Things like Flask, if they're doing Python, things like Django, I've mentioned that. So all these are frameworks, something like Bootstrap for JavaScript. All these are framework-based development. Okay, now for this training, we are going to be using this very old, robust, and very powerful stack development framework. So what we're going to be learning is that we're going to be using a Linux server. Either we're going to do a regular cPanel or we're going to be doing cloud. We can be using GCP or AWS to upload our apps. Then we're also going to be doing Apache. Apache is going to be the server. Then we're also going to be learning MySQL. Then we're going to be learning PHP. So PHP is going to be the language. Then we're going to touch a little bit of JavaScript. Because for us to do some things front end, we're going to be using Bootstrap to do that. So if you see this stack now, it's a back-end stack. The question is that if you now say you want to do full stack, so where is going to be the front end? The front end is going to be this, our JavaScript, or we're going to be using Bootstrap to simplify everything. Before I write down, who have questions?
No questions, sir.
Come again, who have questions?
No question for me.
Ephraim, question.
No question for now, sir.
Okay, question. Okay, do you have question? Any question? So I'm going to write on. Okay, so now since we've understood that, what we're going to do now is that we're going to say, so what is going to be our approach of learning? Let me just clear everything. What's going to be our approach of learning? So we want to learn the LAMP stack. We want to use the LAMP stack, right? In the group, I shared 2 links. So there are 2 links that are in the description of the group, the WhatsApp group. So I want everybody to go and read those 2 links. Those 2 links explains the main stack, the what was it called? The LAMP stack, the main stack. It explains all of those things and their differences and their learning curves. So if you want to start teaching somebody web development, I prefer to start from the LAMP stack. From the LAMP stack, you can now go to either the main or the main stack. So it makes it easier. Then I also love to make sure students understand the entire software development lifecycle. So the software development lifecycle, there's a short video I have on YouTube that is a 30-minute video that explains the entire job of, because to build a web application, you will need a product designer. You will need a quality assurance guy. You will need a software tester. You need a software tester. You will need a front-end engineer or designer. You also need somebody, a back-end, or you need a full stack, which is you. You will need a project manager, and you will need maybe a digital marketer. So these guys are different roles we need to be able to push a software live. Now, it will be very important for a full stack developer to know the roles of a product designer, a quality assurance or software tester, because he's going to be doing things like unit testing. He's going to be doing things like UAT, user acceptability. There's no command. Acceptability test. He's going to be doing browser testing. There are so many kind of testing he's going to be doing on his software. You need testing to test each aspect of his application, things like the login system, things like that's the authentication system, things like each of the modules, each of the functions of the set of the website, the components. User acceptability testing for the user to check through all of the items based on the different requirements. Yes, at times you can have the BA, a business analyst. Then he's going to be doing some kind of browser testing to check different aspects of the software. So all of these are different roles that we need to develop a very, very nice software web application. But to do that, this front end or full stack developer needs to understand the roles of each person if he actually wants to succeed. Now, the idea is not to make him jack of all trades, but the idea is to make sure that he understands everything that is needed to push this software live. Because one of the reasons why you have a lot of failed software is that people don't understand their roles, people don't understand the entire picture. And that's what I'm trying to what's it called? Paint for you. Okay, now, so the question is that if you want to create our software, the first stage is going to be that we need to do requirements gathering. At times in project management, we call it scope development or scope analysis. Very, very important. You note this down. So the thing is that if you want to create a software, right? So throughout this program, we're going to be creating quite a lot of web application. One of them is I want us to create a student portal for offline students and remote students. I want us to create an alumni system or an alumni portal. I want us to create, let's say, a hospital management system. I want us to create a, let's say, an eatery management system. We're going to create a blog. That is a CMS, something like WordPress. We're going to create this from scratch. We're going to create something like, who else? What else can we create?
Transport management system.
Come again.
Transport management system.
Transport or logistics.
Logistics.
So let's just keep it very
Logistics.
simple. Let's make it just logistics.
Yes, sir.
Logistics management system. Right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can stop here. Okay, let's add one more. Let it be 7. What else? So let's create an educational system, right? Or we can just make it result management. So the first one is a student portal. Or I think we can merge these two together, right? We can merge this together. So this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 7th one can be a, we can do something. Okay, I'll remember. So everybody, Ephraim, please, on the group, note these 6, 7 softwares. Now, the thing is that if we want to create this software, we can't just start coding this software. It's going to go through some processes. The first one is that we're going to detail everything we want the software to do. Everything we want the software to do. So we want to document everything. So this is what we call our software requirement document. If you check it, this is your module 1 of this training. Software requirement document. So what's a software requirement document? A software requirement document is just a document that explains everything you want the software to have. It's going to have things like the users, what the users will be able to do, what the admin will be able to do, what the public will be able to do, everything. You need to have it very detailed. Once you're done with this, the next stage is that you want to do what we call a UML or a user flow chart or diagram. So what the user flow diagram is, I'm going to show you samples in our next class, is that it's going to tell us something like login. This is going to be user. This is going to be admin. From here, enter your details. You go to dashboard. In dashboard, we have these menus. Each one will be able to do this. Each one will be able to do this. Each one will be able to do this one. Each of them, just a sketch of the entire flow from start to the end and to log out. That is a what? A UML or user flow. Everybody, we're going to create comprehensive requirements document for these softwares, user flow and whatever for this software. So if you want to build a large-scale enterprise software, or you want to build something and deploy it, let's say offline or in the cloud, or you want to do software testing, or you want to do penetration testing for some of these softwares, having an idea of some of these processes and how this is brought about is going to give you a very huge edge. Once we're done with that, we now have things like wireframe and UI, UX. So once we're done with this, that is where front end now starts. Then back end, then testing, then launch. Who have question? Anybody have a question?
No, sir.
Okay, good.
Hello, sir.
Somebody
The
have,
wireframe and the hello, sir.
yes, ask your question.
No? Okay, the wireframe and the UX and all those stuff are the separate softwares you have to learn.
I'm not hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, right on.
I said the wireframe
Yes,
and the UL and the UX
yes.
are different software you got to learn.
There are different stages of your web development. I said the
Okay.
first stage is you collect requirements. You have clear-cut details of what you want the software to do for you. Then the next thing you want to do is get the UML. We're going to do all of it. Now, from here, like this is not our responsibility, right? We should be starting from here. But it makes a lot of sense that if you have a software to develop, to understand what is happening at this stage. And if it's a small scale project, with the aid of AI, we can develop everything here ourselves and proceed to start developing this. Does that make sense? Because
Yes,
if you intend to set up a software and you don't understand all the nitty-gritties, you will just code trash. Or you will have a lot of back and forth, and that software will never get developed. That web application will never get developed. Now, if it is just regular CMS-based websites like WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magento, SMF, PHP, all of these CMSs, very awesome CMSs. You don't necessarily need to go through all of this process. If you are building just a basic static or dynamic informational site, you don't need to go through all this process because you just have 5-10 pages, contact us, about us, all of that. You don't need to go all of these things. But hey, if you want to build any of these kind of softwares or web application, you can't do that from just copy paste. This is not copy paste kind of site. So you need to be very certain about what you're doing. If not, 2 years, you're not even done. So that's why I said we're going to be AI driven through our entire process, right from requirements gathering to our UML, to our wireframes, to our front end, to our back end, to our testing, we're going to use AI to drive all through the process. And in 2-3 days, we can finish up just an entire website, right? In 2-3 days, we can be done with a tree management system. 2-3 days, we can be done with this. 2-3 days, we can be done with this. 2-3 days, we can be done with this. Is anybody surprised?
Wow. Wow. Seriously.
Why are you doing wow, 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 wow?
I'm surprised.
Okay.
So instead of writing doing the code by ourselves, so the AI is going to help us write the
Yes.
code.
With AI, we could drive everything from start to finish, right? But you cannot do AI without knowing what to give to AI.
Exactly. Okay, so
So you can't just start saying, if you just go and say, AI, build me a hospital management system, AI will say, sorry, contact a developer. But these are the stages. These are the stages. First, plan your website. Second, gather your requirements. Third, get the front end done. 2, decide which language you want to use, whether it is main stack, it's Python, decide, then develop it. It's not tell you, oh yeah, launch it. So we need to understand the entire process, then know our PHP, know our Bootstrap, know our HTML, know our cPanel hosting, know our cloud hosting, then use AI and Bootstrap. Make it faster, make it easier, and launch our application. Anybody have a question? Anybody have a question? Okay, let me write on. Now, the first thing, like I said, we're going to be doing is that we've atomized the softwares we want to build. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to go and get our software requirements document. So I think I've ended today's class. In tomorrow's class, everybody would have gotten a complete document of our requirements, right? And I'm going to give you a guide once I drop the call on how we are going to do that on the WhatsApp group, right? So it's not going to be like an assignment. So everybody, I'll tell you how to do it. So we're going to group ourselves and be in different groups. We're going to have the e-tree management guys. We're going to have the school results system guy, management system. We're going to have the logistics management system guys. We're just going to group ourselves. So I'll tell you how to generate the software requirements. Then we'll fine tune it. Then we will adapt. Once we adapt it, the next thing for us is to now say, how do we do like a user flow? So in the next class tomorrow, we're going to be discussing user flow, UML, UI, UX. By weekend, we should have the entire structure and front end for our application. There by next weekend, we can start talking about the backend. Now, before that, I'm also going to drop a material so that we start learning PHP fundamentals. So I will discuss this tomorrow. We won't talk about this today. Tomorrow, we will just get to this. But today, as I drop this call, I'm going to drop a guide on software requirements documents and software development lifecycle. So 2 materials. One is on software requirements document. The next one is on software development lifecycle. Once you understand these 2 things, then we can now generate the document for our manage our softwares, right? Then from tomorrow, we can now write on with user flow and the rest. Then, of course, after tomorrow, I will give you a material on PHP. We'll start going through, then we'll do some in class. Then we'll move on like that little by little till we are done next week. Who have questions before I drop the call for today? Anybody? Okay, in the absence of question, I'm going to end the call. I'll drop the record. I'll also drop the assignments that's based on this SRD and SDLC. And I'm also going to drop the guide for us. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Same time.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you all.